Beneath the surface of the world's oceans, beyond the reach of sunlight, lies a question older than history itself. A question that is haunting philosophers, explorers, and dreamers for over 2,000 years. Was there once a great city, a mighty civilization swallowed by the sea? They called it Atlantis, a name whispered through centuries, a city said to possess knowledge and power beyond imagination, a paradise built by gods, destroyed by its own pride. The story begins not in the ocean, but in the mind of one man, the Greek philosopher Plato. In 360 BC, he wrote of an island empire greater than any known to mankind, a land of shining temples, golden walls, and vast armies, a civilization that flourished in peace until greed, corruption, and ambition led to its fall. Then, in a single day and night of misfortune, Atlantis sank beneath the waves, never to be seen again. But was this a moral tale, a warning about human arrogance, or did Plato preserve a real memory of a forgotten world? Tonight we journey through 3 possible locations where Atlantis may have once stood. 3 places where myth and evidence collide. From the ancient ruins of Greece, to the sands of the Sahara, to the blue depths of the Caribbean, this is the search for the lost city of Atlantis, 3 locations.
Our story begins in the heart of ancient Greece, a world of marbled temples, open-air debates, and a people hungry for knowledge. Here lived Plato, one of the greatest minds in human history, student of Socrates, teacher of Aristotle, and the father of Western philosophy. Plato's world was one of questions. What is truth? What is justice? What is the ideal society? And it was through these questions that he gave birth to a legend that would outlive empires. In 2 of his works, Timaeus and Critias, Plato described a powerful island nation, Atlantis, said to have existed 9,000 years before his time. A civilization so advanced that its palaces gleamed with precious metals, and its people harnessed the power of nature itself. Their knowledge of architecture, astronomy, and governance surpassed all others. They lived in harmony for centuries, until their moral compass failed. Plato wrote that as their greed and ambition grew, they turned away from virtue, and the gods, angered by their arrogance, unleashed earthquakes and floods that sank the island in a single dreadful day. For Plato, Atlantis was more than just a tale of destruction. It was a mirror, a warning to Athens and to all mankind that when power outweighs wisdom, even the greatest civilizations can fall. But the question lingers. Did Plato invent the story to teach a lesson? Or did he draw from an older truth, a tale whispered by travelers, merchants, and sailors who spoke of lands swallowed by the sea and time? Many scholars believe Plato's story was symbolic, a philosophical metaphor. Yet others point out details too specific to ignore. The precise measurements, the geography, the mention of the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. Could this have been based on real memories of a catastrophe passed down through ancient generations? A distant echo of something humanity once witnessed? The deeper we look into history, the more we find that Plato might not have been the first to speak of a great flood or a vanished world, because long before his time, many cultures across the earth told stories eerily similar of civilizations washed away by water and time. And to uncover the truth, we must go further back, beyond Greece, beyond Plato, into the dawn of human memory.
Before Plato put pen to parchment, humanity had already been whispering about a world drowned by the sea. From the mountains of Mesopotamia to the jungles of Central America, stories of a great flood echo across time, carried in the myths, scriptures, and memories of ancient peoples. The Sumerians spoke of Utnapishtim, a man warned by the gods to build a massive boat before a divine flood wiped away mankind. In the Bible, Noah receives the same command, to save his family and the living creatures of the earth. In India, the Mahabharata tells of Manu, who was guided by a sacred fish to preserve life before the waters rose. And across the ocean, in the sacred stories of the Aztecs, there was Aztlan, a shining homeland swallowed by the waves after its people turned against the gods. Different lands, different names, but the same haunting theme. A once great civilization destroyed by water, leaving only fragments of memory. Could these tales be more than myth? Modern science tells us that around 12,000 years ago, the Earth experienced massive floods as the last ice age ended. Vast sheets of ice melted, oceans rose more than 100 meters, and entire coastlines disappeared. Perhaps the story of Atlantis is not a fantasy, but a distant echo of that global disaster, a prehistoric memory passed down through generations, reshaped by storytellers into legend. Archaeologists have found signs of once inhabited lands now hidden beneath the sea. Doggerland, the lost world between Britain and Europe, now buried under the North Sea. Sundaland, a vast stretch of Southeast Asia once connecting Indonesia and Malaysia, now beneath the waves. And Yonaguni, near Japan, where mysterious stone terraces rest on the ocean floor, hinting at ancient hands that once carved them. Each of these discoveries reminds us that human civilization is far older and more fragile than we once believed. So perhaps, when Plato described Atlantis, a great island swallowed by the sea, he was preserving a truth that humanity once lived through. But if that's the case, where could this lost civilization have been? Was it truly beyond the Pillars of Hercules, as Plato wrote? And could any of these places match the descriptions he left behind of concentric rings, fertile plains, and golden temples? 3 locations, separated by thousands of miles, claim to hold the answer. 3 places that may hold the bones of Atlantis beneath their sands, stones, and seas. Our first journey takes us to the volcanic islands of Greece, where history, myth, and geology collide in fiery brilliance. Our search begins in the deep blue waters of the Aegean Sea, a place where whitewashed cliffs rise above turquoise waves, peaceful, beautiful, and timeless. Yet beneath this postcard paradise lies the memory of one of the most violent eruptions in human history. The island is Santorini, once known as Thera, and it hides a secret that may link directly to the legend of Atlantis. 3,500 years ago, this island was home to a thriving civilization, the Minoans. They were traders, artisans, and sailors who built a peaceful empire stretching across the Mediterranean. Their palaces in Crete and their settlements here on Thera displayed astonishing sophistication, running water, vibrant murals, multi-story buildings, and a love for beauty and art. To the ancient world, the Minoans seemed almost divine. But one day, their paradise fell silent. Beneath the calm sea, the island's volcano awoke. Pressure built within the earth for centuries until it could no longer be contained. And then it happened.
A thunderous explosion shattered the island. Ash and fire filled the sky, darkening the sun. Tsunamis roared across the Aegean, swallowing coastal cities. Within moments, a flourishing world vanished beneath ash, fire, and water. What remained was a vast flooded caldera, the broken ring we see today when we look at Santorini from above. Archaeologists have uncovered the buried city of Akrotiri, preserved under volcanic ash, much like Pompeii. Its streets, frescoes, and pottery reveal a culture of incredible advancement. Some believe that when Plato described the temples of gold and the harbors filled with ships, he was echoing memories of this once great civilization, distorted through time and storytelling. Even the timing feels hauntingly close. Plato placed the destruction of Atlantis around 9,000 years before his era, but some scholars argue that he may have meant 900 years due to translation errors from Egyptian records. If so, the Minoan eruption would fit almost perfectly with the timeline. Thera's eruption reshaped the world. It may have inspired Egyptian records of darkened skies and strange weather. It weakened the Minoan Empire, paving the way for the rise of Mycenaean Greece, the world of heroes like Agamemnon and Odysseus. But most of all, it left behind a memory, a warning of a powerful island that fell in a single day and night of misfortune. Still, not everyone agrees. Critics argue that Thera's destruction was local, not global, and that Plato's Atlantis lay beyond the Mediterranean, past the Pillars of Hercules. If that's true, we must look farther west, to the edge of Africa, where the desert hides something even more mysterious. A colossal formation so strange it can only be seen from the sky. Some call it a geological wonder. Others call it Atlantis.
From the blue of the Aegean to the gold of the Sahara, the landscape shifts. The sea fades into sand, and the waves become dunes stretching endlessly to the horizon. But in the heart of this vast desert lies something extraordinary, a formation so massive, so symmetrical, it can only be truly seen from the sky. It is called the Richat Structure, or simply the Eye of the Sahara, a perfect set of concentric circles carved into the earth, 40 kilometers wide, etched into the center of Mauritania like the imprint of a forgotten god. To many, it looks like a geological wonder, an ancient dome eroded by time and wind. But to others, it looks exactly like what Plato described, a city of concentric rings, alternating bands of land and water surrounded by a great plain near the sea. The resemblance is striking. Plato wrote that Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the Strait of Gibraltar, in the Atlantic region. If one travels south from there, the first great land one reaches is the northwest coast of Africa, right where the Eye of the Sahara rests. Satellite images reveal ancient riverbeds once flowing through this region, connecting it long ago to the Atlantic Ocean. Thousands of years ago, this was no desert. It was lush, green, and alive, part of what scientists call the Green Sahara, a time when rainforests and rivers covered this now barren land. Could it be that long before Egypt rose, a civilization thrived here, one lost to the sands of time and later remembered as Atlantis? Those who believe so point to fascinating details. Plato described mountains to the north of the city. The eye has them. He spoke of a rich plain to the south. Satellite scans show an ancient floodplain below it. He mentioned a land filled with metals. Mauritania's soil contains gold,
copper, and even traces of a rare mineral called orichalcum, the legendary metal of Atlantis. Coincidence or evidence? Modern geologists, of course, explain the Richat structure differently. They say it was formed by uplift and erosion, not by human hands. No ruins, no temples, no artifacts have ever been found that prove a civilization once stood here. Yet, the mystery refuses to fade. Adventurers who have stood within the eye speak of a strange energy, a feeling of standing inside something ancient and deliberate, as if time itself had carved a memory into the earth. It's as if the desert is guarding a secret, one buried beneath wind and dust for thousands of years. Could the Eye of the Sahara be Atlantis? Or could it be a natural monument that ancient storytellers used as inspiration for a myth? No one can say for certain, but if the Richat structure holds no answers, then our next stop may. Because across the ocean, beneath warm Caribbean waters, another mystery lies waiting, one that blurs the line between science and legend.
The ocean stretches endlessly, blue, calm, and deceptively peaceful. But beneath the surface of these waters lie structures that seem out of place. Straight lines, rectangular stones, and pathways that appear to lead nowhere. This is the Bimini Road, lying just off the coast of the Bahamas. A half-mile stretch of underwater stones that has fascinated explorers, scientists, and dreamers for over half a century. The story begins in 1968. A team of divers discovered what looked like a man-made road beneath the shallow waters near the island of North Bimini. Massive limestone blocks, perfectly shaped and neatly arranged, resting like an ancient harbor or causeway. Word spread quickly. Many believed it was the first solid proof of a lost civilization beneath the Atlantic. After all, an American psychic named Edgar Cayce had predicted decades earlier that remnants of Atlantis would rise near Bimini in the late 1960s. And when these mysterious stones were found, almost exactly when he said they would be, the world took notice. To the naked eye, the site feels undeniably artificial. The stones form a curving path that resembles a man-made breakwater or road. Some blocks even look stacked or fitted together, as if arranged by ancient engineers. But scientists see it differently. They explain that the Bimini formations are natural, the result of a rare geological process called beach rock fracturing, where ancient limestone breaks into rectangular slabs over thousands of years. Still, the debate continues, because nature, for all its beauty, rarely creates patterns so straight, so deliberate. And there's more. Divers in nearby regions have found scattered stone pillars, walls, and what appear to be steps, all covered by coral and sand. Even ancient maps from before Columbus seem to hint at islands in this area that no longer exist, places swallowed by the sea centuries ago. Could these remnants belong to a forgotten culture that once thrived here before the last great floods? A society wiped out by rising seas and remembered only in fragments, the final echo of Atlantis itself. Some researchers believe that if Atlantis did exist, it may not have been a single island, but rather an entire network of civilizations across the Atlantic, connected by trade, language, and shared knowledge. A seafaring world that linked Africa, Europe, and the Americas long before recorded history. If true, then the Bimini Road might not be Atlantis itself, but a surviving piece of a world that once was, a fragment of humanity's lost chapter, resting quietly under the waves. For centuries, explorers have chased this dream, from Columbus and Ponce de Leon to modern oceanographers. Each discovery brings us closer to the truth, but also deeper into the unknown. And as the Caribbean sun sets over the water, the same thought lingers. What if Plato was right? What if there truly was a great civilization swallowed by the sea, waiting for us to find it again? The waves never stop moving. They rise, they fall, and they erase. Yet, even as the tides swallow all things, some stories refuse to drown. The story of Atlantis has endured for more than 2,000 years, through empires, religions, revolutions, and the modern age. It has become more than a legend. It is a mirror held up to humanity itself. Atlantis is the story of our greatest dream and our greatest fear. The dream that we once lived in harmony, mastering the elements, building wonders beyond imagination. And the fear that our own pride and hunger for power can destroy everything we create. Across history, this myth has shaped explorers and thinkers alike. When Christopher Columbus set sail for the New World, he carried maps marked with the name Atlantis. In the 19th century, archaeologists believed they were on the brink of finding it beneath the Mediterranean. And even today, satellites scan the depths of the ocean, chasing the glimmer of what might have been. Yet, perhaps the real Atlantis was never meant to be found in stone or sand. Perhaps it is something deeper, a warning from the past, echoing through every lost city and every forgotten civilization. We look for Atlantis beneath the waves, but maybe its ruins lie in every society that rose too high and fell too far. Every empire that traded wisdom for power. Every generation that thought it was untouchable. Plato's tale, whether allegory or memory, reminds us that knowledge without humility brings ruin, and that the sea, vast and patient, always takes back what we fail to protect. But there is hope too, because each time humanity falls, it rises again, rebuilding, remembering, and reaching once more for the stars. Maybe that is the true spirit of Atlantis. Not a lost city beneath the ocean, but the unbroken will of humankind to seek, to learn, and to dream beyond the horizon. The waves whisper still, and somewhere beneath them, the memory of Atlantis sleeps, waiting for us to listen.